friends, it's Lisa and welcome to a new reading vlog. So for this reading vlog, I am going to be reading A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I'm going to be reading this brick of a book, I should say. It's huge. So I just thought it would be fun to vlog my experience reading this book because I have no idea what's going to happen in this book. I have no predictions. I have no idea how I'm going to feel about it. So I just thought it'd be fun to vlog the experience reading it. But here is your warning. This is going to be a spoiler-filled vlog. I have a very difficult time doing reading vlogs where I talk about specific books and not get into spoiler territory. So this is your warning. There will be spoilers in this vlog. So if you haven't read this book yet and you don't want to be spoiled, make sure you add this to your watch later playlist and come back to it once you have read it. But I would definitely recommend clicking off unless you want to be spoiled for this book. But if you do stick around, I hope that you enjoy this vlog. I hope you enjoy hearing my thoughts on the book, and I would definitely love to know your thoughts on the book if you've read it. But yeah, this is going to be what this reading vlog is. I have no predictions, I have no thoughts, I have no idea what's going to happen. I know it's mainly about Cassian and Nesta, and I think there's something to do with like the queens, the human queens that kind of disappeared at the end of A Court of Wings and Ruin, and we don't really know where they are. I think that's going to be involved, but I really have no idea, and I'm really excited to see what it's about. I'm also excited to see how I feel about it because Nesta, I don't know how I feel about her. I go back and forth between hating her and then like she does something and I'm like, oh, but you did that and that was good, so thank you, but also you've done a lot of things that I don't like, so I don't really know how I feel about her. So it'll be interesting to read a book that's mainly about her and from her perspective. But the reason I haven't started this yet, it came out yesterday, I got my copy, and I haven't started it yet because I was still finishing my reread of A Court of Wings and Ruin. I had like the last 150 or so pages left yesterday, so I finished that, and I have started my reread of A Court of Frost and Starlight. I was tempted to just skip it, but I do know that you find out where the characters are going to be, like I think at the beginning of this book, at the end of this one. I don't know, not a whole lot happens in this, so I'm not like too concerned about like kind of reading it fast to get to A Court of Silver Flames. I also do have the audiobook for this as well, so I probably will get through this in the next couple of hours, and then we can get into A Court of Silver Flames. When I start it, I will keep you guys updated on all of my thoughts, but I just wanted to intro this vlog, let you know what we were going to be doing, and yeah, I'm very excited, very nervous. I hope I enjoy it. Okay, Lisa from the future here. I've already finished the book. I'm just popping in to say that there are some heavier subjects in this book, and I imagine if you are watching this, you've already read the book, so you know what those themes are, but I just wanted to say that I am going to be discussing those things. So complications with childbirth, Nesta's struggle with like depression and like suicidal tendencies. Also other characters have struggled with things, and so there's discussions of abuse and rape. So I just wanted to let you know that those things happen in this book, and I'm going to be discussing some of them throughout this vlog, so that is your warning. Again, I'm sure you know if you've read the book that those things come up, but I'm also going to be mentioning it in this vlog, so I just wanted to give you guys a warning. Alright, I thought I would give you guys a bit of an update on A Court of Silver Flames because I finally started it, and I'm now up to chapter 5, page 63. So I haven't made a ton of progress, and honestly, a whole lot hasn't happened quite yet. So far, all we've really learned and seen is one, the queens, the human queens, are clearly up to something. There's something that is brewing in the human lands. They're having issues with the treaty and people not wanting to sign it, Faye not wanting to sign it, and kind of this progression towards peace that they're trying to find is, there's some issues with it. But not only that, we're also seeing Nesta, who is still really struggling after the war, where she's kind of at in A Court of Frost and Starlight, the novella. She's still in that kind of mental state in this book, and this takes place like almost a year, I think, after that novella. I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's about a year, or at least like 9 months or something like that. So they've kind of had enough. She's spending their money, the inner circle's money, on drinking and just things that are not helping her. So they've finally decided to step in and try and get her some help. So she's staying at the House of Wind, and Cassian and her are going to train. That in itself has me screaming. And I think where I left off, we're about to start seeing Cassian and Nesta begin their training, and I'm so interested to see how that's gonna go. I'm already stressed, but also excited. I'm ready. Also, kind of unrelated, but my friend Andrea texted me and said that there is a lot more like sexy time, smutty scenes in this book than in books past, so I'm interested. I'm wondering how early on that's going to start. But yeah, not a whole lot of thoughts. I do think it's interesting being in Nesta's point of view and seeing kind of why she is the way that she is, because I don't necessarily love Nesta, but I definitely feel like there's something in her that could cause her to grow and change as a person, and I think she knows it too. So it's just gonna be interesting seeing that growth. But like as of right now, like, and in books past, like she was not my favorite person. But I definitely feel like we're getting some insight into why she acted that way, and I just think it's going to be interesting trying to kind of learn more about her and see where she goes from here. Like, I thought it was interesting how she was having this meeting with Rhys and Pharah and Cassian and Amarin about her training and them, like, getting her help, essentially, even though she didn't view it that way. And she was thinking about how Rhys doesn't like her for things that she's done in the past to Pharah and just everything like that. And it was interesting because she's like, the way he feels about me is exactly how I feel about myself. And so I don't know. I think it's going to be really interesting seeing Nesta's journey through this book, even though still not on board with her, but like I feel like there's something there. But like I said, I'm only like 63 pages in. I'm on chapter 5, so not super far. Don't have a lot of thoughts, but very interested to see where everything goes. So I'm gonna go now and try and read a little bit more, and I will check in with you guys when I have some more thoughts. Okay, I'm now up to chapter 8, page 95, and I have one comment because I'm confused, and I also have a prediction that's very irrelevant to what's going on. But basically, the human queen that got turned into a fae in A Court of Mist and Fury after Nesta and Elaine went through the cauldron, she's allied with the king from the Autumn Court, but I have no idea what is going on. I'm just so confused as to what, like, whose side is everyone on and what they're all fighting for. I don't know if it's like about like the different territories now, and obviously like the wall came down and all of that stuff, so I think it's that. But like, why would the queen and the dude from the Autumn Court ally? I don't know. I don't understand. I'm sure a lot of the motivations and like if there's another war or battles or anything like that, like I'm sure all of that will become clear throughout this book. At least I hope so, because I don't quite get what's going on. Like, I sort of do, but not really. But other than that, my really random prediction that has nothing to do with what I'm reading is that Pharah is pregnant. I'm just saying. I think in A Court of Frost and Starlight, they move to that house, or Rhys gives Pharah that house to expand and decorate for their children, or future child, because that was like a whole thing in that book. And then there was a comment that seemed a bit too specific for it to just be thrown in there. It's when Cassian and Eris are talking about like what's going on with the human queen turned fae and his dad and everything and all of that type of stuff. And Cassian was like, why don't I just kill you now? Which I would support it, but Eris said then you'll have a war on your hands and it would wipe the like Night Court off the map. And he says, perhaps literally, since the Night Court would be divvied up between the other territories if Rhysand and Pharah die without an heir. I'm just saying, that she's gonna get pregnant, isn't she? Or she's pregnant already. I'm just saying, that seems like a really random comment to specify that because they don't have an heir, you know? I don't know. So we'll see if I'm right, but that is my prediction. Other than that, not a whole lot else has happened. Nesta went to her first training thing with Cassian, and she just sat there and didn't do anything. Also, you can really tell that she, like, wants help, but also doesn't. Like, she's not allowing herself to admit anything, because she had her first day at the library, and Clotho, I don't know if that's how you say that name. I feel like I don't know how to pronounce any characters in Sarah J. Maas books, but we're gonna go with Clotho. Nesta was thinking back on when she went through the cauldron. That's something that is, like, really traumatizing for her, obviously, and it's something that she, like, gets triggered from a lot, and, like, will randomly start thinking about that, and she was thinking about it in the library, and she was like, I feel like Clotho, like, could tell that that's what I was thinking about, And then she starts thinking like all these thoughts like, I need help, like I don't want to be in this body anymore, like all this really sad stuff. I think kind of in hopes that Clotho would kind of read her mind or be able to understand that, and she doesn't. She doesn't know that Nesta like thought all those things. And it's like, it's just, I think, a good representation that like Nesta does want help and knows that she's not acting the way she should or wants to be, but like is on the outside like refusing to let that show, and is like actively making the choice to refuse help and to be like the worst as possible, like as mean of a person as possible. So that's kind of hard to read. I mean, it's not a good thing that she's going through, but I'm just really interested to see like Nesta's character growth throughout this book, if there is some. I imagine there will be, but yeah, that's all my thoughts so far. I'm gonna go and keep reading because I've only read like 30 pages, so I'm gonna go and read some more. And again, we'll check in when I have more thoughts. Okay, first of all, I promise I have moved from this spot since the last time I talked to you. But right now, I thought of some connection, maybe a prediction or something. So right now, Nesta is in the library with Gwen? I don't know how to say that person's name, but Nesta sensed like a darkness deep down in the library, and Gwen is trying to like have Nesta follow her and not to look back, and there's just like this sense of something like watching them. And I feel like it's very similar to what Moore sensed at the end of A Court of Frost and Starlight. I don't know if anyone remembers that, like when she was in the woods on her horse and she just sensed this weird feeling of someone watching her. I feel like it's probably a similar thing, and I'm thinking it may have something to do with the queen and like that death god that partnered up, maybe something to do with that. I don't know. Something about that seems very suspicious and feels like it connects. So I feel like something is going to come out of that. Well, this is quite the angle, isn't it? So it is now, what time is it? Where's my phone? It is now 10:52, and I just wanted to quickly update before I went to sleep because I didn't want to forget what I was going to say. So an update on A Court of Silver Flames. Basically, I just wanted to kind of talk about a connection that I think is going to be either made or there's going to be something with it. Also, sorry I'm talking so quietly. It is almost 11 p.m. and people are sleeping. But I thought it was interesting that Nesta kind of extended an offer to the priestesses who work in the library to come and train with her and Cassian, and no one has accepted that offer yet. But I think it's interesting that she did that, first of all, just because that seems like a really nice thing to do, and I don't know. I feel like it's a sign that Nesta's maybe not terrible, which like we are learning in this book that she has a lot of things going on in her head and that's why she acts the way she is, but anyway, not the point. But she extended that offer, and then also Gwen, I still don't know how to say her name, but one of the priestesses who's working at the library is working under another priestess, and that priestess is like researching these women warriors from like forever ago, and I feel like there's going to be a connection with those warriors and maybe the priestesses and Nesta kind of coming together and training and being kind of this woman army thing. I don't know, I feel like they're going to either be very similar or maybe even become the group of women who were warriors before. I don't know, I feel like there's some sort of connection there. I don't know if that made any sense, but there's definitely a connection, I feel like, with that. Maybe not, but I feel like there should be. Other than that, we have Elaine, who came to visit Nesta, and it didn't go well. I feel like whenever someone mentions their dad and his death, that really triggers Nesta and causes her to kind of react that way and like lash out. So I feel like that's something that when anybody does, like anyone says anything about him, that's what causes her to react the way she does. So Elaine's visit didn't go well. Other than that, there's lots of sexual tension between Cassian and Nesta, and I'm living for it. But yeah, other than that, that's all I really wanted to say. I just wanted to say the connection between those past women warriors versus like Nesta trying to get the priestesses to come together and train. I just feel like there's a connection there, so I just wanted to say that before I went to sleep. I am going to read a little bit before I go to sleep, but probably not much. I'm on to chapter 18, page 211, so I've read a decent amount today. I think I was on page like 60 this morning, so I've read a decent amount. I plan on doing a lot of reading tomorrow. I think it's going to be quite a snowy day tomorrow, so we'll just have a cozy, snowy day to read this book and snuggle up, and it'll be great. But I am going to read a little bit more, and then I'm going to go to sleep. Alright. A lot has happened since I last checked in. Well, not a lot necessarily, just I'm feeling a lot of feelings. That's more so accurate. hear it. So last night I said I'm gonna read a little bit before I went to bed, so I did that, and then I also read a little bit this morning, and literally last night turned the page, started reading after I ended that clip, and some steamy stuff started happening between Cassian and Nesta, and I was like, oh, okay. And then also after that, they went to the river house, I think, where Pharah and Rhys live, and they were talking about these different things that are made. I don't actually know what they're called. The troves, I believe. They're like 3 different things that can kind of do like really bad things. Like I think one can like raise the dead, so that's not great. And one can make like people do what you want. You can basically like force people to do what you want them to do. So I think the human turned fae queen, whose name I can't pronounce, it starts with a B, but I can't pronounce it. I think like she's looking for those things. So if her and like the death god and everybody, like if they get that, like that'll be bad. So I think the inner circle, they're all trying to like find it. And Nesta and Elaine ended up arguing about who was going to find it, which I'm going to talk about in a second. But I think Nesta is going to be the one that ends up looking for it. And Nesta was like, why can't Pharah look for it? And Pharah said, because she's pregnant. I called it. I knew. I feel like because I had just read A Court of Frost and Starlight, and that was like something that they had mentioned, like maybe trying to do, and then like certain things in this book, the way certain things were worded, I was like, suspicious. And I also feel like Rhys was acting really weird at the beginning of this book. I don't know. I called it. I knew it. It's happening. I'm freaking out. And then after that, Nesta and Cassian and Azriel went back to the House of Wind, and now I literally stopped in the middle of things starting to get steamy again, because I hadn't even had coffee at this point. This is where I started reading this morning, and I was like, okay, I haven't had coffee yet. I just found out Pharah's pregnant. Now they're doing steamy things. I need coffee. I need a minute. So I stopped reading in the middle of that scene. So I don't know why I did that. But going back to like Elaine and Nesta kind of fighting, let me see if I can find it in the book. Elaine offered to go and find these troves because they were also made, and Elaine and Nesta were made through the cauldron. So like calls to like, as they like to say in this series. So Elaine offered to go and find those things, and Nesta was like, not gonna happen. And Elaine goes, why? Shall I tend to my little garden forever? You can't have it both ways. You cannot resent my decision to lead a small, quiet life while also refusing to let me do anything greater. And then Elaine, like, eventually, like, the next page over goes on to say, I went into the cauldron too, you know, and it captured me. And yet somehow all you think of is what my trauma did to you. Elaine popped off. So I've noticed that a lot of these characters are holding Nesta accountable for things that she has done and said in the past. And I think even though we're in Nesta's point of view in this book, we know that she feels bad about those things, the things that she's done in the past, the things that she says and has said. We know that she regrets it, but when she's feeling like targeted and when she's like upset by something, she'll just like quickly like attack the next person or the person that's talking to her because that's like her defense. But we know that she regrets it because we're in her head. But I also think it's good that these characters are not like just letting it sweep under the rug, like they're actually holding her accountable for everything that she's done. And I'm just glad that it's just not being ignored, because obviously these people, I think in some capacity, some more than others, care for Nesta, even though she is not being the greatest person. I think they all do care about her in some aspect, and they don't want to see her just like struggle and be this terrible person. But I also think that it's good that they're not just letting things go and that they're not just sweeping things under the rug. They're actually holding her accountable for the things that she's done and the things that she's said. So I like that. I'm very interested to see kind of how all of those things kind of play out, like how these characters and Nesta kind of work on the best way forward here. I don't know. I think it's going to be interesting. I hope that it doesn't just like become like, and then Nesta was nice and now we're all friends. So we'll see. But I like that they're not just like letting her get away with everything because they want her to be better. They're actually holding her accountable for her actions, which I think is important. But now I'm gonna go back to reading. Like I said, it's quite a snowy day today. I actually don't know if it's snowing still. I don't actually think it's snowing anymore, but I think it might be snowing like on and off. So I think I'm just gonna read today. I really just want to get as far into this book as possible today. So I'm gonna go and do some reading and get back into this theme. Because that's where I stopped. I don't know why that's where I stopped. I don't know. Okay, quick update. Basically, Nesta just like caught on fire, but it was like a cold fire and it was like her powers. And then Reese was there and he was in her head and it was a nightmare. But then he said that her power is pure death. What is that? What is up with that? Like, what did she take from the cauldron to have pure death be her power? Like, what? That is too much for my little pea brain. I'm now, like, almost halfway through the book. I feel like I've been reading this book for years and I'm not even halfway yet, but I'm going to try to get to the halfway mark. I probably will do that. I basically have just been reading since I last talked to you guys. I really haven't stopped, so I'm going to try and keep that energy going. And, yeah, what does pure death mean? I'm stressed. Cassian was sleeping in a chair beside her bed. Okay. Alright, time to cry. Okay, so I am up to chapter 33, page 354, and they found out that one of the troves, one of the death thingies, the mask was in like the center, in the middle is what it's called. So it's a place on the map. I'm sure if you're watching this, you know. It's a place in the map where it's not really owned by any court. It's just the middle. And they found it was there, and already things are going bad because Az is nowhere to be found. So, good. That's good. I'm not concerned at all. So I have a feeling these chapters where they're there in the middle is going to be very stressful. So I'm going to get back to reading because I am stressed and I want everyone to be okay. Hello. I am here with an update on Court of Silver Flames. Basically, the update is to say that this book is stressing me out. So first of all, Cassian and Nesta keep doing the do, but ignoring the fact that they actually like feel something for each other. So that's stressing me out. It's angsty, so we love it, but also it's stressing me out. 2, Nesta forged like these swords and daggers and things with the magic that she got from the cauldron, so they're like really powerful and really dangerous. So I'm sure that that's gonna go well and not cause any problems ever. 3, apparently because of these swords, Reese could like declare himself like the High King, or there could be something like a High King, and I mean, I'm down for that. I support it, but I don't know how well that's gonna go over in the book. And then 4, to top it all off, Pharah might die giving birth. It's wonderful. I mean, to be fair, I don't think Sarah J. Maas is gonna kill Pharah off, so I'm not like too stressed about that, but it's like stressing the other characters out, and also like Reese isn't telling Pharah that that's a possibility, so that's stressing me out. But I have like 300 or so pages left of this book. I'm definitely going to finish it this weekend, and I just want to like keep reading. I basically haven't stopped reading. I feel like I read like 200 or so pages yesterday. I think a little over 200. I just couldn't put it down. I had a dream about it the other night. It's just kind of consumed my life. So I definitely will finish like the last 300 pages this weekend. But yeah, I just wanted to give an update, say I'm stressed, but I'm definitely enjoying it. I'm definitely liking this book, and I'm very interested and stressed to see where it all goes, but definitely will be reading later, and I'm just stressed. She's talking about Tamlin. Period. Nesta finally made it down the 10,000 stairs. Why do I feel like this isn't gonna end well? Because she's angry right now. Oh. Goodbye. Okay, so Nesta found out about the swords because they all decided to not tell her, take a vote to see if she should find out that she created those really powerful swords and daggers. And then they took a vote, they decided to tell her. Cassian let slip that he was just telling her the truth, that they took a vote on whether she should know. She got mad that they took a vote on whether she should know about it. So that's why she went down the 10,000 steps, got to the bottom, went to Amren's apartment because she found out that she was the one who voted against Nesta finding out. She gets to the apartment, they start arguing, Pharah shows up. Nesta, in her anger, tells Pharah that Reese and everyone are also hiding that her baby could possibly kill her when she gives birth. And also kill the baby as well. So this is bad. Pharah is talking to Reese about it, and Reese is like threatening to kill Nesta if she doesn't get out of the city right now, so this is bad. This is looking real bad. things were going so well. And it's all ruined. I'm laughing because I'm nervous. We've officially had the first tears. I did not expect to be crying during this book, but here I am. Seeing the aftermath of what Nesta did and being in her head, it's rough. This is stupid. Okay, we are finally into the final stretch of A Court of Silver Flames, and I'm concerned. I'm on page 639, which is chapter 62. I stopped in the middle of a chapter because I got distracted by TikTok, but I'm concerned because I have like 120-ish pages left of this book, and right now, too many good things are happening for the characters, like so many happy things have been happening, and I'm like, this can't last. There's 120 pages left. There's too much time for bad things to start happening. I think the last time I updated was when I was crying, so I'm not crying anymore, but I have cried since then again, like teared up a little bit. The part where Nesta kind of caused an issue with Pharah, Rhysand, and everyone, and her and Cassian went to like a forest and was like hiking all these mountains and stuff, that part was where I was crying a lot. When she like finally broke down and like opened up and told Cassian everything, it was a rough time. I was emotional. But since that moment, there's been a lot of really good moments. There's been a lot of cute moments with Nesta, Gwen, I still don't know how to say their name, and Emery. They made like these like bracelets where they like made a wish, and it's so cute. And also Cassian and Nesta at Solstice finally like admitted their feelings kind of to one another, so we love that. Also at Solstice, when Azriel gave Nesta a gift, that made me tear up a little bit. Because I love him. I like have had a soft spot for him this whole series. I feel like we don't see a ton of him throughout these books, but I've always just had like a bit of a soft spot for him. So I'm excited to see more of him if we get like a whole book dedicated to him, because that's what I want. But when he gave her her gift, I got a little teary-eyed, and then Cassian's gift to Nesta also made me cry. This is just, I'm getting awfully emotional reading this book, and I did not think I was going to. But yeah, that's why I'm concerned. There's been a lot of happy, emotional moments, and there's still so much book left. So I know that things are gonna go downhill from here. And I don't know if I'm emotionally prepared, but like I said, I have like 120 or so pages left, so I'm planning on finishing it today, and then I will check in with you guys with my final thoughts. I don't know how much I'll update like between now and the end, because a lot of times when I get to like the last 100 pages of a book, I can't stop and put it down. I just need to finish it. So I'm sure that's what will happen with this book. So I might just check in once I finished, but right now I'm terrified because things are too happy and too good. So I'm scared. Okay, I know I said I wasn't going to update again probably until the end of this book, but I was right when I said things were going to turn bad. They literally started to turn south that chapter. The rest of the chapter that I was in the middle of, things went bad. So we found out that Cassian and Nesta are mates. And it like clicked into place, I think, the night of Solstice, and it kind of freaked Nesta out. So she was like, I'm calling in our bargain that they made like at the beginning of all this, and said, I want you to leave. Do not speak to me until I come talk to you or until a week has passed. So Cassian can't go to her for another week, but now she went to Emery's house and some darkness thing just took her away. But because of the bargain, Cassian isn't going to be able to get to her. Okay, apparently the bargain was that he had to stay at the House of Wind for that night, and that he could only speak to her when she spoke to him, so he can go to her. He just can't speak to her until she speaks to him. But he's stuck at the house for this, like, for the night, and she got taken away. So it's still bad. But like, I thought for a minute that he wouldn't be able to go to her at all for another week. Okay, so it's still terrifying, but not as scary. Alright, so I have finally finished A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I finished last night, and I kind of just wanted to have the night to sink it in and take it all in and just like understand how I feel about it, because I think if I had just like rated it immediately after finishing it yesterday, I would have given it a 5-star, but I don't think I'm gonna give it a 5-star. I did put it into the like Compile spreadsheet, which Compile is a method of like rating books that I use, and I use the spreadsheet to kind of calculate my feelings and the ratings on books. And before even doing that, I was like, it's very close to a 5-star. I just don't know if it's quite there for me. And when I ended up calculating it all out, it was like very, very close to being a 5-star, but it wasn't quite there. And I just feel like that perfectly describes how I feel about this book. So I'll just quickly talk about like the one thing that I didn't necessarily love about this book that was kind of holding it back from being a 5-star. I think the whole like political aspect of this book was not the strongest. I feel like Sarah J. Maas felt like she needed to have that plot in there, and I just don't really understand why, in the sense that like it could have just been a book about Nesta and her journey and her relationships with not only Cassian but like Pharah and her sisters and everyone else in the Night Court and everything. Like it could have just been that book and that would have been fine. But there's also this like political underlying plot line going on where like the queen, the human queen turned fae, that's like the old lady now, she's teaming up with like this death god, and then Baron, I still don't know how to say his name, the High Lord from the Autumn Court, like they're all teaming up and like might be causing another war and everything. That was so like pushed to the side for everything. I don't know, it just didn't feel like it necessarily added anything. It didn't feel like it was necessary. It didn't feel like it was a main focus of this book. Like Sarah J. Maas kind of just like threw it in to have that political plot line going on, but it was so like pushed to the side. Like there were a couple of chapters where they would start off being like, a month has passed and nothing has happened with these people, and then it would just continue on, and then another chapter started out and was like, another month has passed and nothing's happened. It was so clearly being pushed to the side for Nesta and Cassian and Nesta's growth and her relationships with the other characters, and like that would have been fine if that was the book. I would have enjoyed the book just as much if it was focusing on Nesta and her character growth and her relationships with everyone, if that was the focus and there was no political aspects and it was just this romance book with her character growth. That would have been fine. It just felt like it was so clearly being pushed aside for all of these things, and it just felt really like anticlimactic at the end when Nesta was on the mountain and the human queen turned fae. I don't know how to pronounce her name. It starts with a B. But she like came and they like faced off, and Cassian was like under her spell, and there was that whole like dramatic scene. It just didn't feel like that high stakes because I wasn't that invested in that aspect of the book. It felt like the only thing that political like aspect of this book did was provide scenes for characters to be in certain positions to have a moment together. So like there would be times where Cassian and Nesta needed to go and do something for the political aspect of this book, and it would put them in a situation where it would cause them to bond or like something to happen between them. So it was just like providing other situations to happen and not necessarily adding to like the actual political part of this book. I don't know if any of that made sense. I just feel like the political aspect was just not super strong and just like thrown in, but not given the attention and the focus that it needed to actually have an impact on me and for me to actually care. I wonder if it's just going to continue on in the next books in this continuous series. I think there's going to be 2 more. So I'm wondering if that political aspect will continue on throughout the rest of the series, and it was just kind of getting its roots started in here. It just did not feel important at all. So yeah, that was like the one thing that I didn't love. I also didn't love that Moore wasn't in this book that much, but like she was in it a little bit, so we still saw her. She just wasn't in it that much, which kind of made me sad, but also like it's not a book about Moore, so I kind of understand why. But other than that, I really loved this book. I think you know you're enjoying a book well while you're reading it, you're going, wow, I can't wait to reread this. At least for me, that's a good indication of a book that I'm really enjoying, because I love rereading books, and that's something that I love to do with books that I love. I love rereading them and revisiting them, and when I'm reading a book for the first time and going, wow, I can't wait to reread this, that's a good sign. So the last time I checked in, I was really stressed. We ended up finding out that Cassian and Nesta were mates, and then they ended up getting split up, and then it ended up causing Nesta, Emery, and Gwyn to be put in the right. So they had to like battle the Illyrian warriors to the top of the mountain. It was a whole thing. That was very stressful, but I actually did really like that aspect of the book. Also, when Pharah was giving birth and was dying, because she made that deal with Rhysand for them to both like go out together, he was also gonna die, and then the baby was also dying. It was just a lot, and Nesta ended up exchanging part of her powers to save them. So I think she still has a small part of the powers that she took from the cauldron when she was put in there to become Fae, but she doesn't have a lot of it. She doesn't have a majority of it. She ended up doing that as an exchange for their lives. And I'm not sure how I feel about that because I'm a clown and I went and muted a bunch of words on Twitter to do with this book so I didn't get spoiled, and they were the only words I had muted, so I knew it had to do with this. I saw a tweet that was like, this tweet has words that you muted, and it was under a tweet being like, I hate when books make women like lose their powers. So I knew something was happening with Nesta, and I ended up clicking the tweet and reading it, and it said that Nesta ended up losing her powers. But then actually getting the context, I was like, okay, I feel like it's not as bad. Like, it makes sense a little bit. And she still has a bit of those powers that she took from the cauldron, so it's not a complete loss, but like, I also understand like why people wouldn't like that. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed this book. I loved the journey that we got to see Nesta go on in this book. I will say I was pretty skeptical going into this book because I was not Nesta's biggest fan. I really did not like Nesta the first 2 books of the series, and I feel like with A Court of Wings and Ruin, I was like, I still don't like you. I'm still not like over the things that you did in the past, but you are doing things now that are good, and I'm like, there's clearly something more to Nesta that we are not getting because this isn't her book. I knew when reading A Court of Wings and Ruin, like, there was something more to her. I was very intrigued by her as a character and was interested to learn more about her, which is why I think this book worked for me. I feel like if you went into this book not liking Nesta, you might not like her still by the end of this book, whereas I felt very in the middle. But I will say this book did a really good job. Sarah J. Maas did a really good job with not excusing Nesta's past actions and her past words, not allowing her and like the characters to allow her to just like get away with it and be 100% okay with it just because she's now like getting her own book. The characters were holding her accountable, and Nesta also recognized that she was doing a lot of things that were not great. She was continuously lashing out and doing things that were hurting people intentionally, and these characters were holding that against her. And I like that it wasn't just like a, oh, we forgive you now, here's your book. It was something that was not excused. There were no excuses made for her, but she understood those things and was like, okay, I did those things, I acknowledge it, that was not okay, and here's how I'm going to go on moving forward. It wasn't trying to make excuses for her past actions or like her trying to like make up for those things. It was just like recognizing that that was an issue and having people also tell her that that was an issue and her working through it and moving forward. And I liked that. I liked that there weren't excuses made for her and her past actions, because Nesta was not a good person. And the thing is you understand why she acted the way that she did. You understand why, but it's not an excuse. It's just an explanation. And it kind of gives you an understanding of her character and how she reacts and handles things and how that's not okay and how she's going to move forward through all of that type of stuff and how she's going to learn from that. So I liked that. I liked that it wasn't just like excused and pushed under the rug for the sake of this book and for the sake of her becoming like a good character and having a redemption arc. Like, it was not excused by anyone, Nesta and all of the characters, but it was recognized and now she's moving forward, and I think that that was really great. So yeah, overall, I did really enjoy this. I loved seeing Nesta and Cassian. I loved the part at the Christmas party where Azriel gave Nesta a gift and then Cassian gave Nesta a gift. Those parts had me crying. But yeah, bottom line, loved this. Can't wait to read it in the future and also get the other books that are following this one in the future. But I think other than that, that's going to complete this vlog. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe down below if you have not already. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you in my next vlog. Bye.